Okay. Man, not getting anything right today. What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Thank you so much for your patience. We had some internet issues down here, and you guys stuck with us for the last 25 minutes, and that means so much. Thank you guys so much. Sorry about the no audio. Oh, we can't get anything right today. Thank you for watching Sportsbook Review. This is Betting with the Bag, January 7th. And again, thank you guys so much for your patience. We have a packed show. So I've been told that we can go 20 minutes over our regular time slot. That gives us an hour and 23 more minutes. And we have three guests. We have Adam Lockworthy, who we need to get ready to go immediately, Rafa, to break down this 12-game NHL card. After that, we have Teddy Covers joining us. And then we have Maxwell Smart. So Teddy Covers is going to work NBA with me, going to talk a little NCAA basketball, a little NCAA football, a little NFL. Well, then we're going to have Maxwell Smart joining us to hammer this NCAA basketball card. Prince of the City says, after that delay, I really need a winner. Excuse me, stains a little red. After the waxing, we also have no AC working in here, so I'm sweating buckets right now. But all for good, all for winners. Coming off a good day, but not a spectacular day. A spectacular day was had by our very own Dan Kelly, Rafa, who is the winner of the Vegas Gun Award for capping excellence. 5-2 on the day, including a plus 355 money line winner with the Washington Wizards. Shout out to Dan Kelly in the house. All righty. Let's get to work. We have a man making his low bag debut, his Betting with the Bag debut. I can't wait to break down this NHL card with Tim. Please welcome to the show, Adam Lockworthy. Adam, my man, how are you?
Jimmy, I'm great, man. Wow, that is really zoomed in on my face. Just have to back up there. I'm glad the internet stuff was resolved. I was starting to think it was me. I was never going to make it on this show. But I saw Deer Slayer Ski make a comment in the chat about how much he loves the show and how it's great, how inclusive you are, and that's what makes it so great. And I just have to share this really quick. I thought back to the first, I've been watching this show since 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. And I remember Penguins were playing the Avs, and I made a comment about Tristan Jarry was starting and how, he could be better than Murray. And Pete Loshak reads it to you, goes, Jimmy, this is what Adam said in the chat. What do you think? And you go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, or today or something. And then after the show, I messaged you about the article I read with some of the numbers. And instead of, sticking to your guns and digging in, having an argument about it, you just said, I'm going to have a read of the article, just really respectful. And that was our first dialogue ever. And so I completely know what Deer Slayer Ski's talking about. We appreciate you, Jimmy, and I'm glad you're still doing the show.
Well, thank you for making your debut. It's a long time coming, and you were right about Tristan Jarry. So there we go.
Only maybe for this season, but last year he was still pretty god awful. So I'll give you that.
Well, I did expect Matthew Murray to become an elite goaltender. I really did. And there was times where he sort of showed it, but he's not shown it enough. Adam, we've got to get to work on a giant NHL card. Absolutely. I went 2-2 yesterday, up just less than about a 0.1 of a unit because I had the Jets plus 130. That under 6.5 I thought was one of the easiest plays possible. The Habs now with the injuries to their wingers are going to be hitting unders. Maybe not tonight against the Red Wings, but for transparency reasons, Rafa, my friend, can you put up my NHL record, which has been a disappointment, all year, but we're still barely above in plus units, so we will keep grinding away. Before we get going, we need to give a shout out to a new low bagger rolling with our Nut Flush Allen. Big Mark in the Pepsi truck today. Big Mark watching for the first time. Big Mark, let's get you winners right now. And if you roll with Mike Allen and the Nut Flush Allen family, you are in good company. If you're a friend of his, you are a friend of ours. Let's go through this whole card from top to bottom. Adam, we're going to start with the Canucks Lightning. Let's bring up the best odds page on the planet, sportsbookreview.com, SBR odds page. Let's pull it up right now and get to NHL. We're going to start with my knuckleheads up against the Lightning. Both teams on big winning streaks. Lightning opening up at minus 205 and now minus 219. This total sitting at 6.5. Markstrom now going to the All-Star game. I predict, now that we've got a month since Markstrom's dad died, that he will really start rolling. He was very, very close to his father, and also had to travel all the way to Sweden and spend time with his family, then all the way back, and it's just been a very emotional ride. And now this ride we get to this point where he gets to make his All-Star debut, filling in for Marc-Andre Fleury. 919 save percentage. These Canucks 9-10-1 on the road. 81% penalty killing, 26.1% power play. If a penalty killing is over 80% and the power play is over 25%, you can expect winning streaks, and both teams are on 7-game winning streaks. Lightning coming off 4-game road trip, sweep, Sabres, Habs, Senators, most recently 3-1 over Carolina on Sunday. Vasilevsky starting to play better. He's been bad all year, but this is a tough trip, 3,000 plus miles from Vancouver to Tampa. Canucks have been scoring. They've averaged 4 goals a game during their winning streak. I've not made a move on this game. Adam, have you made a move on Canucks Lightning?
I have indeed. I've taken the Canucks money line and the Canucks team total over 2.5. I have this much more at a 60-40 in favor of the Lightning than the 66-33 that the market has. You laid it out great there about the Canucks. Now I know you're not big on you know the Canucks probably better than anyone I know, and you weren't big on them coming in this year. Still remains to be seen if they can come close to a playoff spot this year, but they have supplemented their defense this season, adding Tyler Myers, adding Ben. These guys have assisted greatly in Markstrom somehow getting his debut into the All-Star game. And so while I do agree with what Bobano said on our show earlier, this over so I haven't made a total, but the over and half is where I'll be looking.
And they're not as good as the Knights and the Coyotes. I'm waiting because the Knights have this 8-game road trip coming up, not for 3 more games at home, but 8-game road trip. I want to see if they lose a few games there. So I have not yet hedged it, and I'm just sitting kind of waiting. I find the Florida Panthers a very tricky team to cap right now. And now we have a Coyotes team with injuries to their 2 starting goalies. So now we have Aiden Hill, whom I don't dislike at 6'6". I think he's got a future in the NHL. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with. Arizona, Florida. Florida opening up at minus 137. Now it's minus 131. This total sitting at 6. My first inclination, Adam, was to try to get over this total. That was my first thought, and I'm not against it. So I want to hear what you have to say about it. Coyotes have won 3 straight. Now they play 6 of 8 on the road. Aiden Hill's going to be in net. They allow 2.5 goals per game. Their defense, we've been talking about all year, very strong. Ekman, Larson, Goligoski, Chychrun, Osterley, and Jason Demers. And that's without Halmerson, who's a stud back there as well. Panthers coming off 4-1 win in Pittsburgh. Huberdeau rolling with 20 points in 10 games. Are you making a move on Coyote Panthers?
I think not at the moment. If I do, I agree with what you said. Just being over this last little 5 games, wins and losses, and you say the wins, they take Montreal, 11 goals or whatever, then they get 1 goal against the Jackets, 2 goals against the Sabres. It's just alternating a little bit of inconsistency. I think the Yotes are, 3-game winning streak here, plus number. I don't know how well they play in Florida. Let's just take a look. They've lost, their last 7 games in Florida. It's a tricky one. I think if I do play it, it'll be just 1 play to the Yotes money line, but it's not one that I really want to get too tricky with. Apologies for the choppy stream, you guys. We're having Wi-Fi issues. Thank you for sticking with us. I think this over is in play. What do you think about this over? I love the Coyotes offense right now with Hall and Kessel starting to heat up. They both had kind of slow seasons, and there's a lot of offense coming from guys that we did not expect in Schmaltzy and a few other guys that I did not expect to be rolling. Clayton Keller is making this power play very dangerous with Hall and Kessel. What do you think about going over this total of 6? Sixes are always just pretty annoying for me. I mean, I would lean over, but again, if the Coyotes play, they're the better defensive team. If you know, but I don't know. I see it from a lot of angles here. The percentages have the over six at 52, but again, I mean, Bobrovsky and the Florida Panthers defensive, leak goals when they're bad. They look really bad. And you said it, under Hull, the offense is starting to click a bit more. They just seem dangerous more consistently. But again, it's tricky to me. So I'm going to leave that one probably to the end of the day and come back to it.
I'm going to pull the trigger.
Okay.
It's my first edition on the show. I'm going to take the over 6 at minus 105. Over 6 at minus 105. And a lot of issues coming from our internet connection. Again, apologies. We are working on it. Apologies. Okay, let's keep rolling along. Islanders, Devils. Last week we saw the Devils surprise and beat the Islanders 2-1. Our Gin Rummy was on the Devils in that spot. Great job, Gin Rummy. This is a total that's at 5.5. It's juiced to the under. And let's see what else the odds page is telling us here. We go Islanders opening up at minus 127. Wow, a 10-cent move towards these Devils. And it has to be, Adam, because, well, we know the Islanders are on the second half of a back-to-back after beating the Avalanche 1-0 last night. But Greiss has not looked good lately. And he's lost his confidence now that Varlamov is the go-to guy while Blackwood has been rolling. New York's lost 11 of its last 21. They've scored 2 goals or fewer 22 times this year. Devils coming off a 5-2 loss. They had looked good. They had gone on a 4-0-1 streak before that, but they may be without Jack Hughes. They're going to be without Jesper Bratt. Are you making a move on Islanders Devils?
Yes, and I've already made it. I grabbed the Devils this morning, one of the first plays, money line, plus 111. And I'm also on them team total over 2.5, which if the Islanders play the defense that they're capable of, I, of course, will have issues there. And I also have the Devils reverse puck line at plus 325. So I am riding the Devils here. Islanders on a little back-to-back. I don't really think that's a huge issue in hockey, but I also have the Devils at 52% to win today, which, I mean, the Islanders won last night against the Avs. I was on them for that one. It was a bit of a contrarian play. I could understand why a lot of people like Colorado. But that one could have gone either way. I mean, even the Avalanche goal, it was a rare one where it was disallowed. I like the number on the Devils, even though, the Islanders are bound for the playoffs and New Jersey isn't. They're the healthier team. They're the better defensive team. Greiss has not been what Varlamov has, but again, the Devils have been bad for most of the season. I mean, it's been very clear. So we saw the Avalanche mix up their lines the other night and just expose them. Renton gets the hat trick, and it looked like October New Jersey. We'll see if that continues, but I like the contrarian play on the Devils here, and even though it's a close line, I still think it's value.
I think it's a very interesting look and definitely wouldn't talk you off of it. Corey Dulski says Islanders Devils under easy money. I would agree if Varlamov was in that, but I can't do it with Greiss. Let's move over to Senators Capitals. We have Washington as a giant favorite here, but it's come back. So the Washington opens at minus 358. So there's been a 96-cent move towards the Ottawa Senators, a giant, one of the biggest moves that we've seen in the season so far. This total opened up juice to the over 6.5. It still is. I've got Anderson Holtby as whom I'm expecting. Senators 11.4% power play. And then we have Duclair out of the lineup. Maybe Duclair is in. Maybe that's why there's been that dollar move because he's been so good this year. Ottawa 0-3-1 over their last 4. They lost last Saturday to Tampa 5-3 in Ottawa. Washington coming off that wild 5-4 overtime victory. Not since 2005 has a team been down 2 goals in the last minute of regulation and come back to win. And they did that. And I was on the Sharks the day before. We talked about that spot. And I almost did it again on Sunday because I like backing teams when they have back-to-back 1 o'clock games and the other team doesn't play the day before because it kind of messes up your system, that early game. And thank God I stayed off of it. I would have lost my mind. Senators, Capitals, I'm off this game. Are you making a move?
Yes, to the over 6.5. That was one of my article plays today, which you could check out on SBRSportspicks.com. Ian Cameron made the point several weeks ago when the Senators were dealing with their defensive injuries that he was going to be looking at the overs in their games. That has been a good, I don't know how often he's taken them, but I've been well aware of that, even though I've been on a few Senators unders. This is a clear play to the over. It's a shorter price. We could see a 7 before puck drop. I still think you want to be on the over 6.5 for the shorter price rather than an over 7. But this is a Senators team that, with the defensive injuries, they have inexperience, AHL call-ups that, just are overwhelmed. They're not playing ice time that they're used to. And, Shabbat, he's like he's been called a miniature Carlson. His defensive play isn't anything to write home about either. He's not used to a 30-minute guy where he's playing against the top lines again and again. Capitals have a potent offense. I said to Ian after the show was done, this is one where they get 5 or 6 and we're happy. But again, on the flip side, Senators' offense has been clicking. Duclair, maybe he's starting, maybe he's not. But as far as a side in this one, Jimmy, I had the Senators at 32% to win. So I could see why there was significant movement. I mean, you know it as well as anyone. You just, minus 400 for NHL favorites is just ridiculous any night. So although I'm not sure about taking a side in this one, the over 6.5 is where you have to go. Just don't get involved in these unders with the Senators at the moment.
Yeah, well said. And Babano's been destroying these Ottawa overs as well. So I hear that. Let's move on to a game that I really like. I watched this total go from 6.5 to 6, and I do not get it. I understand Carolina's not been scoring, but the Flyers can't keep the puck out of their net.
Yeah.
So if you want to get your offense back on track, you bring Philadelphia over on the last game of their road trip. This team just wants to go home. I see this as a gorgeous spot. I see the 6.5 going down to 6 because the models are telling you that the Hurricanes aren't scoring. This is perfect situation for me. I'm on the over 6. What did I get to? At minus 115 at 5 times. And I got the Hurricanes minus 1.5 at plus 150. Hurricanes have lost 5 of their past 7. You guys know how much I love the 5th game of a 7-game homestand. I love this spot on this card. Are you making a move on Flyers Hurricanes?
Yeah, I am on Carolina money line and Carolina puck line at the moment. Again, I've been leaving totals to the end of the day, but I have my percentage actually has it to the over, Jimmy. So it agrees with you there. And it's probably, as you said, off of the Philadelphia defensive numbers. I mean, we're looking at a Kings team going back 3 games, puts on, I think it was 5 and then an empty netter, I can't recall. But again, you go back even further into December, San Jose, breaks their losing streak through December with 5 or 6 goals on them. There, for all of the talk about, new coach this year, better defensive structure, Hart, this is his year, Elliott's not a terrible backup, all this stuff. This has been a terrible streak for them defensively. It's difficult to change up things, structural things on the defensive end on a road trip. And now they head to Carolina, where Carolina, I mean, they've been known for seasons for throwing so much at the net, and, 2-game losing streak. I love the Carolina play in this one. And the over 6, I will also be at. And I agree with you. I'm not sure why it moved significantly. But, playing Tampa and only scoring 1 and, limiting Montreal to 1 a few games ago, that's not the same as what we're seeing from the Flyers. So completely agree with your play there.
Beautiful. Let's keep rolling. I backed the Avalanche minus 1.5. It's so hard for a team to finish a road trip in Vancouver, an Eastern Seaboard team, and then fly all the way out east. Who cares if that was Saturday night, now it's Tuesday? You got to go home, deal with bullshit that you didn't have to deal with while you were on the road. It's the beginning of the year, you got beginning of the month, you got all this stuff to worry about. And the Avalanche played last night, didn't score a goal. And the big question mark is Igor Shesterkin here making his NHL debut for these Rangers. Both teams have disappointing penalty killing, and the Avs have not been very good. They've not been very good for a little while now. They're 3-3-1 on the second half of back-to-backs. And Shesterkin, I'd love to hear what our Mr. Gokster has to say about this. And we apologize that the video and audio are matched up Apologize for all these technical issues that we're dealing with right now. Shesterkin, 6 Continental Hockey League seasons, KHL, and he's been incredible with the Wolfpack this year. 1.93 goals against average, 932 save percentage. I took Avalanche minus 1.5, and I love it. Like I really like my card. I only have 4 plays. I added that over 6, but Avalanche minus 1.5 at plus 176. I think this is a great spot and a very tough spot for the Rangers. Are you making the move in Colorado, New York?
I'm undecided right now. I one of my angles that I love in hockey is a team on a back-to-back awful loss where they don't have a large distance to travel, and the Colorado Avalanche fit all of those criteria today. You combine it with New York off of a long road trip out west, as you mentioned, through the Western Canadian provinces, and it does combine for a very nice spot for the Avalanche in a game, off a game where they didn't play that badly, and they're playing a Rangers team that, you know, that road trip to Alberta and BC, that was brutal for them. So I don't know how much, you know, it is a short price for a road team, but again, this is an Avalanche team that is near the top of the league. You know, I had a thought about the Rangers this morning, potentially money line, but again, situationally, scheduling wise, and as far as the back-to-back angle on the Avalanche, I'm not too worried, and so I would be leaning towards the Avalanche, but I haven't made anything yet there.
I am loving this Colorado spot this evening, and I rarely feel that way about teams on the second half of back-to-back. Next up, we have Canadiens, Red Wings. I've stayed off this game. The Canadiens are a mess. Tons of injuries, and important ones. I mean, Druin and Gallagher, Paul Byron, Armia. These are huge, huge losses to their wingers. They bring up Kovalchuk. They outplay the Winnipeg Jets and lose 3-2. They were outplaying the Jets. I was never in any concern with my move on the Jets here. This Canadiens team is going to start moving towards unders. That 6.5, I laughed at that 6.5 yesterday. But the Red Wings are a horrible hockey team with terrible injuries as well. Athanasiou is out right now, but Mantha's the big issue. 6'5" Anthony Mantha. Then you have 3 injuries to their defense. These teams, with all these injuries, volatility increases, and I want nothing to do with this game. Are you making a move on Habs Wings?
Big time. I am on the Wings, and Wings, you know, they're one of the most unprofitable teams this season. I mentioned this I had them for the play of the day last week against the Sharks. They are not a good team. You mentioned it. They are probably the worst team all season long in so many aspects. But I'm on Wings money line. I'm on Wings reverse puck line at plus 400. And this is injury riddled, favors the price on the dog team. The volatility favors the price on the dog team at home. You know, it's not something you love because, again, it's a Detroit team that's, you know, they had a over 1.5 that they couldn't cover against the Dallas Stars last week. You know, they are 2-0 up against the Blackhawks. They still can't find the back of the net again after that game, and they lose 4-2 in regulation. And so you say, do I really want to touch a 2 bad team spot? No, but again, the plus 145 or whatever it is now makes me very happy to get involved with the Wings. I have this at 52% favored to Montreal. But as you mentioned, they are in dire straits as well. And this is a Wings team that's beat them twice already this season. So I'm not saying Wings 2-0 this season, you know, they're going to go 3-0 now because of, you know, they're better than Montreal. But this is a team that even when Montreal was chalky favorites, things were going right. When Montreal was healthy, they were still, you know, they've scored 2 against the Wings and 1 in the other game against the Wings, both at home. I'm happy to take the Wings here. I know it's not a great matchup and nobody's too excited about the caliber, but yeah, I like the Wings.
I like your spot here. I don't have the balls to do it myself, but I like it. Respect it. Let's move on to Sharks Blues. Sharks have been putting money in my pocket, and thank God I didn't have them against Capitals. That would have been like a breakdown spot for me. But the Sharks are putting money in my pocket, and I don't want to take them here. The Blues, I needed the Blues to beat the Knights. I'm very interested in this future spot I'm on with, and we'd already talked about it with the Coyotes in the division, and I wanted, you know, when the Blues were up 3-0, I was like, oh, perfect, get Nell there. And they weren't playing well, and it's Colton Parayko out of the lineup hurts them. He should be back tonight. Sharks 3-1-2 since the holiday break. Their penalty killing's been good. They looked so lackadaisical up 4-2. It was disgusting, just awful. I was so angry watching, even though I didn't have money on it. I've not made a move on this spot. San Jose, St. Louis. St. Louis opening up at minus 192. They're now minus 185. This total is juiced to the under 6. Are you making a move here, Sharks Blues?
I'm undecided on this one. I have this at 60-40, giving it value to the Sharks. But again, you mentioned the Sharks give up that one in the last minute, but you have to mention the Blues up 3-0 against Vegas, lose 5-4 in overtime or whatever it is. The Blues have lost more third period leads this season than they did all of last season. And considering they started off last season in last place at the halfway point, they are not playing good, taking care of business when they need to. I would lean to the value on the Sharks, or maybe just a team total over 2.5. But it's sketchy. With the Blues, on a 3-game streak themselves, this could be one of those where Berube just gives them the yelling before the game or after the last game, and they come out full focus. But again, as you mentioned, there's not too much to love, but lean to the Sharks.
Yeah, I'm going to stay off this. I'm a little concerned. I hope the Sharks go on a run here. Next up, Bruins Predators, and I believe we've come to your play of the day. Is that right, Adam?
That's right. Yeah.
So why don't you take it away, my friend?
Well, actually, it was great timing while we were having the technical issues before the show started. Trevor Loden, the NHL insider, I've seen him around the show before, let us know that there is a new coach in John Hines taking the Predators head coaching position after Peter Laviolette was terminated yesterday. I was a bit surprised by that. You can hear me talk in depth on the Play of the Day show, which is also on SBR YouTube channel. But this is me seeing it as a breath of fresh air angle, as well as a Bruins team. Sure, they're traveling with their moms, which is always, a little bit more reason to play well. But they should not be favored to the extent that they are. I think the Predators match up just fine against them. If the Bruins, have trouble depth scoring, as we've seen, we've seen that from both teams, or the Predators finally start blocking a bit of shots, back checking, playing responsible in front of their goalies, not relying on, Saros or Rene to have, Vezina-worthy performances every night. This team is of the caliber that they can beat the Bruins. And while I understand the love for the Bruins, I'm seeing a number of tickets coming in on them today, fading the Predators, with a new coach who have, lost 4 or 5, who aren't playing responsible hockey all season in their own zone. I like the value on the Predators, and I favor them. I have them at 57% today to win. And you look, as far as a motivation factor after a coach has been fired, this should add value to that percentage rather than take away from it. So even though the Bruins lost 3 straight, you say they're focused on coming with a win today. Also, I see the Predators a home dog. Well, it was close to a pick 'em, but I've seen money come in on the Bruins. I still like that price, and I've taken the Predators money line, taken the Predators reverse puck line, and the Predators team total over 2.5.
I love those looks, and I kind of like the Hines hiring. I looked at who was available, and it's a lot of retreads that are. I like when a coach goes from a team with a lack of skill to a team with a ton of skill that's underachieving. There's a lot of talk who could be the Blues of last year, and you guys know I'm high on the Predators. Predators cost me a lot of money this year, and Jin Rummy, one of the guys in our chats, is not believed in the Predators since day one of this year, and he's been paid out huge by not believing in them. So he's done a great job there.
Great.
At this point, the Hines news. I love that Trevor Loudon was in our chat, letting us know that Hines. I've got to dive into it a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know if Hines is actually starting tonight, though. I would be surprised if they already had him on a plane. Maybe they have. Either way, it's not the fact that it's the new coach on the bench that makes me think that it helps. It's the fact that all the attention is on the Predators in a negative way, with the media and the fact that there's an absence in the locker room, the fact that there's a recognition by the management that they are not playing, they're playing lazy in their own zone. That's why this has a value in my opinion. So it's not specifically, maybe long-term Hines is going to be a great coach for them, but this short-term play tonight is not about that.
It makes sense. And if the Bruins weren't playing so poorly and Bergeron calling not getting to the net and things of that nature, I'd be jumping all over this as well. But I like it. I like the games. Looking to win the road. I lost the Blackhawks. You know, this team, I don't get the line at all. And they're going to take you to the promised line if ever going to get there. You got to get them rolling. And the Blackhawks, you know, they have to no off this spot here. Flames open minus 127. I talk all the time about awarded getting road 11, 10, and 2 on this year. Flames, Blackhawks, are you making a move?
Undecided for this one too. I have this at exactly a 50-50, which would give slight marginal value to the Blackhawks. It's tricky. I think the Flames are still with their moms or their parents or whatever. And, you know, the Hawks, as you said, whoever's been out over this last little couple stretch, they're playing a lot better. They're dangerous right now. And a short-ish price on the Flames is not something that interests me either. So, and again, with the total, I mean, the Hawks have been involved in some higher scoring affairs lately. They even let 2 from the Red Wings in, and you know, Mini scores 4 on the Flames in the last one. It's a tricky one for both sides in total. I'm undecided at the moment.
The Blackhawks have been skewing to overs nonstop. I've not made a move on that game, but I did take the Knights minus 1.5. Another spot that I really like, and I'll like even more if Crosby is back in the lineup, which he may or may not be here. The Knights are just rolling right now. They're playing good hockey, and I do not trust this Pittsburgh Penguins team, even though they're playing spectacularly well. They're playing so well, but they're coming off 4-1 home loss to Florida on Sunday night. That was the second half of a back-to-back. That was also a stretch of 3 games in 4 days. I think the Knights are a dangerous hockey team right now, and glitching like crazy. Can't understand a word. I'm just going to keep rolling. That's what I've been told to do.
I can hear you great, Jimmy.
Okay, thanks, buddy. I'm on the Knights minus 1.5. Are you making a move here, Pens Knights?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards the Knights way, but again, undecided here. You know, it's well known that Pittsburgh has yet to win in Vegas. It's tricky. I do agree that if Crosby is back, I would like the value on the Knights more because, you know, when players return, sometimes we get that overvaluation that Crosby's back. It's the same way when, you know, Crosby goes out, it's fade the Penguins, you know, even though Malkin's numbers are, you know, 2 points a game with Crosby out over his career. We see that sort of contrarian effect. So I would lean towards the Knights, who are just clicking, but again, dangerous Pittsburgh team. Can win any night, but maybe Vegas is just never a spot for them. It's hard to say. That one still is tricky for me, so I'm going to come back. And as far as the total 6, very annoying total again. It depends what we get out of if it's Murray starting. Get out of Murray.
Yeah, I hear you. George Wood says Knights are average. Yeah, the Knights are not that good of a hockey team, but you take Gensel and Crosby, and even if Crosby comes out, you take them out of the lineup. I don't know how the Penguins are doing what they're doing. They're already a team that lacks depth, even though their Wilkes-Barre farm team has given them some adequate hockey players. I've been saying it all year that the Knights are average. I have no futures on them, but they are playing better hockey right now. Then we have Jackets, Ducks, last game on the card, and we got to be quick here. Got to move over to Teddy Covers, Adam. Columbus, Anaheim. Anaheim opening up at minus 129. There's been an 11-cent move towards the Jackets. Jackets got me last night. Empty net goal away from cashing that under, though. I still think they're going to be a great under team. I've been blown away by Werenski. He's just spectacular. Atkinson may be ready to go here for these Jackets, and they don't have very much offense. Wenberg's never the player I expected him to be, and I thought Bemstrom was going to be back in the lineup, but he's still dealing with the rib injury, and the Ducks are a team I want nothing to do with ever. Merzlikins has been great since he's moved over to the starting spot. Jackets, Ducks, you making a move?
Not yet, but I think I will take the Jackets even on the back-to-back. I passed on that game entirely last night for them. Just, first game out to Cali, and just thought it was maybe a tricky spot for the total inside. But I had the Ducks back in October. I liked the value there. I similarly like the Jackets here with the value. They, Torts, I think you're a fan of his. Is that right? Fan of Torts? I think he just has them playing getting the most out of them, regardless of if who's in the lineup or not. And that's what a good coach does. And the Ducks, I'm not a fan of theirs. I think them laying -120, -125 against any team in the league is never something you want to take. So I'm looking at the Jackets or pass on this one.
So am I, and I was wondering, I thought Torts was going to go back-to-back with Merzlikins. He is not. David Hutton says, I'm on the Jackets. Udon Point, Ratina Fact, he says, Ducks roll. That is your NHL card. So I made one addition. I'll go over the plays I made this morning, but I made one addition. That's the over 6 in the Panthers Coyotes game. That's my only addition. And here are my looks, and I love my card. Philly, Carolina over 6. I love that it's come down from 6.5. I will go against that market move based on the recency bias of how the Hurricanes are playing lately. Wait till they get to go up against Philly. I'm on the Hurricanes -1.5 and +150. I'm on the Knights -1.5 and +170. And the Avalanche -1.5 +176. Back to my puck lines. Love this spot. Adam, what are you on tonight's card reviewing your plays?
I am on a shitload, as always. I'm on Devils money line, Devils alt puck line, Devils total, Carolina money line, Carolina puck line, Vancouver money line, Vancouver team total over 2.5, Detroit money line, Detroit puck line, reverse puck line, Detroit team total over in Nashville, all 3 again. I am still working on totals, still undecided about many games, but we got some time here. Anyway, Jimmy, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on the show. Thank you to all the guys in the chat that give their input every day. I hope everyone has a profitable night, and I hope that I'll be back on sometime in the future.
Oh, we must have you on. Great. Love watching you make your debut here with Betting with the Bag. Follow this man on Twitter at Lockquerty, Lockquerty, LOCKEQWERTY, at Lockquerty. Follow our guy Adam on Twitter. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Let's have a very profitable night, my friend.
Yeah, take care, Jimmy. Talk to you later.
And we go right from Adam right over to our guy Teddy. Covers Teddy. We've had a ton of internet and connection issues this morning. Sorry. Thank you so much for your patience. The sound is being off, and it's dealing with some issues here. But coming off a winning night, which feels good. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right today, Jimmy. How about yourself? And look, sometimes there's going to be technical issues. There's not a whole lot we're going to do about it. We appreciate everyone in the chat hanging out and letting us work through it. So thank you guys for your patience today. All good. All
Absolutely.
Good, Jimmy. All good.
Absolutely. We it's very thankful for all you guys and your patience. Well said. Teddy, let's get to this NBA card. Have you made any moves on it?
I haven't. And I debated and I ended up talking myself out of basically everything. I had 4 games that I considered, and I didn't end up pulling the trigger on any of them. I'm happy to tell you my leans. But in terms of actual money out of my pocket, I talked myself out of all 4. So I have no action in the NBA for tonight.
Well, of this time. Let's talk about these games. And another shout out to our Dan Kelly, who won the prestigious Vegas Gun Award for capping excellence on the show. Dan, what a day he had yesterday. And one of them was Wizards money line. Wizards money line at +355. I went 3-2 yesterday. Another prop failure with Jamal Murray. I was watching that game, and was a mistake. My props are holding me back. Rafa, could you put up my NBA record? 3-1 on sides and totals, and then 0-1 on the prop. And it's not been a great 2020 for me so far, but we're rolling. And Matt Randall, thank you guys. Says, even if it's like watching a foreign film, thank you guys so much. Says, still the best show on YouTube. Thank you so much. All right, let's get after it right now. We're going to go Pistons, Cavaliers. We'll start there, Teddy. Pistons opened up at -3. Now they're -3.5. The total opens up at 215. It's shot all the way up to 219.5 at some books. Pistons pace last 5 12th in the association. Cavaliers pace last 5 16th. Cavs have lost 4 straight. And now we have this situation where Kevin Love yells at Colby Altman during the shoot-around on Saturday. Then they lose badly to Oklahoma City. And his for Kevin Porter Jr. Leaves with a knee. Not as bad as it looked. Dante Exum looks very good for the first time. 24 of his 28 points in the second half. Derrick Rose, 8 points in Detroit, 29 lost to the Lakers. They 20 blocks against Pistons. Pistons 9 of 11. And Andre Drummond does all more Pistons Cavs spot.
So my lean is towards Detroit, and the more I thought about it, the less I wanted to lay anything with Detroit. I mean, obviously what we're hearing out of Cleveland, the rumblings aren't pretty. I heard rumblings that Bayline might quit, that it's not working out for anybody and nobody likes each other. And there are major issues among the coaching staff and among the players. And when you have a situation like that becomes public, one of two things happen. Either the team steps up in this game or they don't. So there's a decent chance we see the Cavs step up here. Detroit's a team you can step up against, obviously. And I mean, the Pistons are going to be without Griffin, without Morris, are going to be without, obviously, Kennard for a while. I mean, Detroit's better than Cleveland. And if Detroit comes to play, it's a game with a lot of question marks in terms of the Cavs' mentality and what we can expect. Is this a pedal to the metal situation where all of a sudden we're going to see Cleveland play? Potentially. But tonight's a game we find out a lot about the Cavs. I think that this game is meaningful moving forward from Cleveland. If they don't show up here, they're a straight fade moving forward.
Yeah, well put. I like that breakdown a lot, and I agree. I'm going to stay far away from this game. Let's talk Blazers, Raptors. Pinnacle opens up the Raptors -2.5. They're now at -3. It's 2.5 in most books. Heritage is hanging at 3. This total's gone from 220 to 219.5 at some books. Pinnacle still holding it at 220. The under's been 5 cent move towards the under. Both teams' pace last 5 has been slow, but for Raptors fans and people following Raptors, we do not expect Van Fleet to be in the lineup. So if Van Fleet is not in the lineup, and we don't even know what's going on with C.J. McCollum. He was out with a respiratory infection on Sunday. That was a 122-111 loss to the Heat in Miami. Raptors are 5-4 since Siakam, Gasol, and Powell went down. Dan Kelly's on the over here, and I get it. I get it without Van Fleet. Even though Van Fleet puts up points and gets assists, he is... He's accountable defensively, and you need to be accountable for these guards. I don't know what to do now that McCollum and Van Fleet the Raptors have. You had any idea?
So it looks like McCollum's going to play. The latest stuff that I saw this morning is that he had a touch of the flu or whatever it was, and a couple days later he should be good to go tonight for the Blazers. They certainly missed him, but I mean their loss to Miami was all about the defensive end, and that's when Portland's been losing, the defense hasn't been there. The low post defense hasn't been there. It's been a consistent problem for the Blazers. They've been an injury-riddled, especially with the money coming in on the Raptors. With Van Vliet, I'm getting doubtful for today with that hamstring injury. And he's, any Toronto fan will tell you he's as important a player on the team as there is. And he doesn't affect the point spread when he's out. So I lean Toronto. I did not pull the trigger.
Yeah, either have I. And man, it's been fun watching Van Fleet's career. What a stud undrafted. Let's move on to Thunder Nets. Oklahoma City opening up at -2. Now we have 2.5. So total opens up at 217. Now it's down to 216. Nets have increased their pace. Atkinson wanted it. They've done it. Thunder now 26th in lead pace last 5. Both teams are on the second half of back-to-backs. And the Thunder have impressed all season long. Even if they lose 120-113 last night at Philly, that first half cash, staying off that first quarter was a good move. It felt like a lot of us cashed because a lot of people got in on Oklahoma City at +7.5, and those that didn't got in at 7 and pushed, and those who were on the Sixers were on the first half. So it felt like a nice spot for us all. Nets have lost 6 straight. They're not playing good basketball. They were held to their third lowest point total of the season at Orlando. They look ugly. That under last night felt too easy. I've not made any moves on this basketball card yet either. Thunder Nets, is there? Anybody
won. Unfortunately, I didn't. That said, it moved from 6.5. Gallinari misses the free throw at 7. I can't blame that. I should win that badly. So even serious bettors don't invest it. But trying to see the same thing. And that was a pretty push for me in that game last night, because the only reason I pushed is because like the quotes coming in the locker room. Yeah, I can see no spread in the second of back-to-backs, and I understand it. This isn't right. I thought Mike's near Pick'em, maybe the net in a point, and instead at OKC -2.5, and that's second of back-to-backs, and when my number. by more to pay attention to. And don't bet against. And this is a situation where I was a little bit on the Thunder.
Yeah, right. And that's just and facts play second half because I still don't always trust that. Let's move on to Minnesota, Memphis. This total opened up at 228 now, 228.5. Memphis opening up at -2.5. They're either 3 or 3.5 point favorites now. Memphis are playing really good ball. They've won 2 straight. This is the opening of a 6-game homestand. They've won 9 of their last 15. They've scored over 110 points in 14 of their last 15 games. They put up 140, beating up on the Clippers. And then they follow that up by putting up 121 in a win over the Suns on Sunday. 31 assists against the Suns. I mean, they're just rolling. 36 assists against the Clippers. They're playing so well. The Crowder goes for 27 against the Clippers. Jaren Jackson goes for 24. Brooks 22. Morant 22. Valanciunas dominates against the Suns. And the Timberwolves are playing better. There's no doubt about that. They defeated the Cavs 118-103 on Sunday. Dang looked good without Cat. Cat's now going to miss his 11th straight game due to a knee injury. Wiggins returned from a 4-game absence due to illness and didn't look very good. Napier is rolling. What do you think about this spot here, Minnesota, Memphis?
So just for what it's worth, I heard there's a chance that Towns could play tonight. And if Towns plays, I don't want Minnesota. The first game back after they met. Both these two teams since Christmas are 4-2 straight up, playing winning basketball right now. They're both in solid current form. Although of the two, you trust Memphis a little bit more than Minnesota. And I'll tell you, I was watching the T-Wolves in Cleveland over the weekend. And they put on a shooting display in the first half of that game. They were draining everything and went on a big run right before halftime. And the Cavs were hanging their heads and should be an easy win. And then lo and behold, by the fourth quarter, it's a sweat. That's Minnesota. They're not. Memphis is the better of these two teams. Unfortunately, the point spread is telling us that. The money coming in on the Grizzlies and the money continuing to come in on the Grizzlies. And, Memphis has been great. Cashing tickets as dogs. Are they a team we're excited about laying a price with as a favorite? Coming off back-to-back road upset wins, returning home. Not an optimal spot for the Grizz. And they're not playing defense to cover as chalk. As a dog, the Grizzlies offer, again, will continue to offer value. I don't love them here, laying 3. If I had to play, it would be Memphis minus. We might take a look at the over here as well. By the way, you asked me about the total. There was the Portland-Toronto total. I do lean under in that. That was the one, we talked about that a few minutes ago, and there was one comment that was still in my head when we were talking about totals. But I lean over in this one. But again, nothing I pulled the trigger on.
Yeah, and Ski talking about the pace last 5, Wolves 3rd, Grizz 1st. The pace has been so fast. Wouldn't this be the spot we take the over?
I wouldn't talk you out of it, man. Over or pass for this better.
They're moving so fast. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on the over in this. And again, we apologize for everything being off here with our audio. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us. Let's move on to Kings Suns. This total opened up at 226.5, now down to 226. Phoenix opens up as 5.5 point favorites, now 6.5 point favorites, and they're beat up. Bogdanovic sprained right ankle. We know Bagley out with the sprained left foot, and now Rashawn Holmes going to be out. That's trouble, and Booker is rolling, and Monty's going with this new lineup where he has both Ayton and Baines on the floor together. Kings on the second half of back-to-back after their win over Golden State on Monday. Are the Kings right for the picking here against the Suns? Was this a game you were close to making a move on?
I was looking at the Sacramento side, not the Phoenix side in this one. I'm not laying 6.5 with the Suns right now. All right, the one win and cover they have, they beat the Knicks over the weekend, and they won by 8. And I'm telling you, I watched that game. Phoenix hit everything. Okay, it was one of those everything broke right, and they battled and won the game in a contest. They could have lost that contest. They played good hoops down the stretch, inspired basketball, and still fighting, scratching, clawing the last minute to get the cover. And the only reason they got the cover was the Knicks fouled one time too many, which many teams don't do. Not easy for Phoenix to get margins right now. But on the Sacramento side of the equation, you talk about a guy, again, who matters on the floor and is ignored by the point spread, Rashawn Holmes. Okay. Holmes in and out. The market don't even move a half point on that. You think this guy has an impact on the floor? You bet he does. You know, in terms of low post defense, in terms of rebounding, in terms of, not like the Kings got a lot of guys that play D, especially in the low post. And Holmes is one that does. So when he's out, that's and it doesn't look like he's going to play. And to me, that's a big enough red flag that even though I don't want to I want to bet against the Suns in this price range, wasn't able to get there with Sacramento. So, but no way I lay with Phoenix here. It's Kings or pass for this better.
I am going to make a move on the over 228.5 in Minnesota-Memphis. Over 228.5 at -105. Viper on the Booker props. Hit 5 in a row with Booker. And the final game on this card is Knicks-Lakers. Lakers open up at 13.5-point favorites. They're now down to 13-point favorites. This total's gone from 220.5 up to 222. We talked about the block party they had against the Suns, 20 blocks. Very, very impressive. LeBron just named Western Conference Player of the Week on Monday. Avery Bradley lost to a right ankle injury. He's day-to-day. And the Lakers are 20-0 against teams under 500 so far this season. Knicks dropped 135-132 loss to the Clippers on Sunday. Marcus Morris continues to play spectacularly well, 67 from 3. Scores 38 points. RJ Barrett goes for 24. Randall 16-8. Knicks lost, but shot 57.1% from the floor. How bad is their defense right now? And are you going to make a move on Knicks Lakers?
So my initial lean was towards the Knicks, and I absolutely talked myself out of it because of that last stat that you mentioned. The Knicks just shot 57% from the floor and lost. Okay? They hit, and if you watch that game, excuse me, against the Clips, you saw Morris draining 3 after 3, the closing minute. It was an epic finish in that contest, with an epic finish with the Knicks draining 3s all over the court. Can they do that twice in a row against the Lakers defense? I'm not convinced that they can. And when a team shoots there's an old rule, and I really got a database this one. I'm gonna look this up today, but there was an old rule: when a team shoots better than 50% in the NBA and loses, they'll bet against their next game because they're not going to shoot as well. The Knicks aren't a great shooting team. They just shot 57% and lost. That said, I mean, Lakers are sub 500 AT. There might be 20-0 against sub 500 teams, but they're sub 500 ATS when they're laying double digits like this. I mean, it's not way bad. They've covered a handful of these, but they have been money losers in this double-digit chalk roll, and it's not like the Lakers have owned the Knicks of late. It's actually been a surprisingly competitive series. So lean towards the dog, did not pull the trigger. Sounds like the story of my day.
I hear that. I've only got one move right now. Maybe more will come when we watch Jammin' with J Money, which pops off in 38 minutes. We got Gabriel Hernandez in the house. Gabriel Hernandez was the honorable mention for the Vegas Gun Award. Went 2-0 last night. Shout out to our guy, Gabriel Hernandez. Keep props saying Knicks 28 road dog, 9-6 versus with 55% versus winning teams, 4-1 against spread last 5. Okay. There is our NBA card right now. Teddy, my friend, are you making any moves in NCAA basketball?
So I had a really long short list today in college hoops, and I cut a lot of it down. But I have made moves in college hoops for today. The top 2 moves I made was Ohio State +3 against Maryland of the TV games. Ohio State +3 in that ball game against the Terps. Back-to-back losses for the Buckeyes. You should read the quotes coming out of that locker room. I think they come to play tonight for sure. And I took Kansas State against TCU. I laid 1 with the Wildcats. I'm not a Horned Frogs believer. And K-State, if I'm backing them, I want them home against a team that I think is vulnerable. And I think TCU is an overvalued commodity right now. Real tempted by Utah State against the Air Force as well. But I didn't pull the trigger on that one. I was tempted by South Florida, and the more I read about that game, I kind of flipped around towards the East Carolina side, and that means I pass. I gave a look to Virginia Tech today, plus the points against Syracuse. I gave a good look to Miami, plus the points against Louisville. And then I started reading some Chris Mack quotes, and I don't want to bet against Louisville tonight. I think Louisville's going to come. I was looking at Boston College, plus against Virginia, and it's hard for me to step in front of Virginia. I thought that line was a notch or two too high. I really did. I looked at the Missouri side against Tennessee. And that's one that I also talked myself out of. And another one that I flipped, my initial lean was look at Florida against South Carolina. You start reading those Frank Martin quotes, you're not betting against South Carolina tonight. Coming off a subpar effort where Martin was not amused by their efforts, and it was the worst effort since he's been at South Carolina. So I'm like, no, that's not a day to step in front of the Gamecocks. So what I actually made moves on was Ohio State and Kansas State. And that's the two plays that I made in college hoops so far for today.
Kansas State and Ohio State. Just jotting that in. Sorry, we might be cutting our show short because of these technical issues. So I was getting information there. What were the numbers you got on Kansas State and Ohio State, Teddy?
I took +3 with Ohio State. That's betting number 607 on the road at Maryland. With Kansas State betting number 652, I laid -1 with the Wildcats. So +3 and -1 were my pull the trigger numbers.
Okay, beautiful. Because of these technical issues, it looks like we're going to be cutting the show short. I'm still waiting for information to come in from the producers here. Again, we apologize for all of this. Teddy, have you got to the window with anything in the NFL?
No, I haven't. I'll get there. It's coming. I think I'm going to get there with that total, with the Tennessee-Baltimore over. There's 46.5 out there now, and I really should pull the trigger on that. I haven't done it yet. I expect to. And I'm not sure that 46.5 is going to hold.
10 Baltimore.
I might well get there with Green Bay as well. I'm probably going to get there with Green Bay. So that's the two that right now I'm on the verge of pulling the trigger on. The over in the Titans game and the Packers over the Seahawks. But I haven't bet either one yet. I expect to bet them both today.
I love it, Teddy. Thank you for being so cool as a cucumber with all these technical issues that we are having. Teddy back in Kansas State, -1, Ohio State +3, close to getting the window on the Tennessee-Baltimore over and possibly that Packers spot as well. Teddy Covers, thank you so much for joining us. Follow this man on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. Follow him on Twitter. Teddy, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we have all this figured out for tomorrow morning, my friend.
Hey, yeah, this is the universal signal right here. Cut it. Sorry, the technical difficulties today. Have a great day. Good luck tonight, and thanks, Lowbaggers. Thanks, Jimmy. Have a great day, guys.
Our pleasure. Thank you for rolling with us. Well, I'm getting the call to cut the show. We haven't even got to Maxwell Smart yet. And I want to badly get to Maxwell Smart here. So we're going to review the looks that we already have on the show. And I'm going to be getting some information here. If we're going to cut this right now, then I'm going to see if I can set up a show with Max, or at least maybe we can do a late show. I know we stopped doing late shows, but maybe this is a day where we can do a late show. I will look into that. Okay, we are cutting the show. So I apologize for that. And Max is putting out plays. Follow Max on Twitter at MaxwellSmart420. And I'm going to see if we can get a chance to do a late show this afternoon. I would love that opportunity, and I apologize. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Back to NHL. I love my card. In fact, I don't love the addition that I made. I love my puck lines on today's card. I really think I'm in a good spot with them. I made 4 bets on the morning. I took the Hurricanes -1 at +150. I took the Philly-Carolina over 6 at -115, so I've doubled up on that game. I took the Avalanche -1.5 at +176, as well as the Knights -1.5 at +170, and then I added that over 6 in the Panthers-Coyotes game, over 6 in Panthers-Coyotes game. I only made one move in NBA on that over 228.5 in that Wolves-Grizzlies game. I apologize, you guys, very much. I'm going to see if I can get, and there's Tata Booker in the house. I'm going to talk to our producers and see if we can do a late show because we need Max. And again, I apologize. Sucks. Thank you guys for your patience with us. And we will fix this We will fix this. There's a recap, Cole. Those are my 5 looks in NHL and in NBA. I just have that one at this point. I've done nothing in college basketball. The taint play today is in. We do have other looks from other cappers. The taint plays of the day is in, and I will give that to you right now. Texas Tech -3. Other plays that Matt Randall's on: Ball State, Buffalo under 147.5, Virginia, Boston College under 114, Kent State -4.5, and Miami +13. Roman Peddle, college basketball. He's on Kent State. He's also on the Bruins. The Avs -1.5 and the Blues -1.5. The Gooch play of the day from our guy Corey. Focus on your bets is his new handle. Is Central Michigan -4. Central Michigan -4. Lamont Williams has a double up parlay here. Houston -2, Rutgers -2, and everybody said, "Hey, I'm saying it's time the universe wants the Late Show back." I'm gonna work on that and see if we can pull that up. Dan Kelly is on the Trailblazers Raptors over 219. He's on the third quarter Lakers -4.5. And he's already on a correlated parlay on Brooklyn and the under. He picked up 216 last night. Viper NB is on the props over. The props over for Booker, Devin Booker, and we got Tata Booker in the house. Yeah, Ron, I'm going to do what I've been told to do. And Dan Kelly says you should do a late show today and every day. This sucked. Well put, and I apologize. Matt Randall says, regardless, still the best show on the YouTube.